This is Captain E, and I want to tell you about a charity that is near and dear to my heart. The Shawn Jenkins Children's Hospital at MUSC is responsible for saving my niece's life and so many others on a daily basis. Hooked on Miracles is our King Mackerel Tournament in Charleston on July 14th through the 16th, and it's the oldest King Mackerel Tournament in South Carolina. We support the Children's Hospital with 100% of our proceeds. This event is a fun-filled weekend of fishing with family and friends and raising money for this great cause. You can make a difference, too, by going to www.hookedonmiracleskmt.com and join our efforts as a sponsor or participant. That's www.hookedonmiracleskmt.com for all the information. Thanks to all of our sponsors and especially Key West Boats for keeping this great event going every year. We'll see y'all in Charleston in July. Michelob Ultra and Mick Ultra wholesaler Better Brands Incorporated are excited to announce a new partnership with Sober Skipper, part of the Sea-Tow Foundation. While we know consumers enjoy relaxing days on the water with Ultras in hand, it's important to remember to drink and boat responsibly. Choose to be or to designate a sober skipper before leaving the dock. Do it for your family and friends, your passengers, and everyone else on board. Michelob Ultra salutes all sober skippers who take the pledge. Cheers, and we'll see you on the water.
Realtree has always had a connection to the fishing industry and the outdoor lifestyle. In 2016, Realtree expanded on the traditional business of creating the world's most effective camouflage patterns to create a fishing brand and family of patterns designed to connect the woods to the water and strengthen the bond between the two worlds. We couldn't be more excited to be working with the industry's top brands, retailers, and anglers to continue our growth, and we hope that you will join us. Enjoy Realtree fishing patterns inshore, offshore, on the lake, or at the dock. Learn more about the extensive line Realtree fishing patterns, apparel, gear, and more at Realtree.com.
One thing that all of us outdoorsmen and women love to do is travel, whether to fish new waters or to chase wild game in other areas that we may not get opportunities at in our own area. Our friends at Monster Reservations Group want to open up an entirely new chance for you to travel and enjoy the outdoors or just relaxing. With over 40 destinations in the U.S. like beautiful Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Wisconsin Dells and Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, Poconos, Pennsylvania, and even our backyard here at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And many more. They are going to give you twice the vacation. That's right. Pay for 4 nights, and you're going to get 4 nights for free. That's $498 for an 8-night stay at one of our incredible destinations, and that's for simply listening to Trilogy Outdoors. Go book your trip and get all the details at www.monsterrg.com. That's monsterrg, all lowercase.com. Pay less for an incredible opportunity to explore the outdoors in your choice of over 40 destinations. Book your trip now.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks, welcome to another exciting episode of Trilogy Outdoors. And I'll tell you, we have taken the podcast on the road from the Senator's house, and we are hanging out at the beautiful Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters. Once again, Captain Jason has let us grace his big wooden deck. And, well, we're not on the deck. We're in the parking lot again, thanks to Mother Nature and her winds. But Senator Goldfinch, it's good to have you here again. We haven't seen each other much. You've been busy.
You've been getting your hair cut at weird places.
All right, yeah. So we had to go to there. We had to go there.
We had to go. Captain E has gotten I
got a haircut.
An interesting haircut.
I got a haircut. We'll just put it that way. But right now, it has a red ring around it because I took the old lid off yesterday to get some sun, trying to make it match evenly. And
bad idea.
Unfortunately, it did not do anything even. No, it's a little bit extra cooked. But, you know, we've the last couple of weeks we've talked about and mentioned our good friend Capt Bouncer Smith is going to be into town. And, you know, Bouncer comes here and spends a lot of time on the water. He travels since he is retired. But I don't think he's retired, really. Do you think he's retired from what you just heard?
Doesn't sound like it, all the traveling
There's a difference. When you go fishing and you do it for a living, somebody gives you a paycheck later on. When you do it retired, you keep having to pay. It's really getting painful.
Well, I'm just going to say this. That crowd you're going with out of here, they got deep pockets. I mean, I hope they're paying you to go with them. I mean, I see Mr. Conklin sneaking away real quick over there.
Have you seen the quality of the people that run boats out of here?
Yeah, it's questionable.
They're pretty damn good.
Oh, there we go.
If you got quality, you have to expect to pay for quality.
That's right.
So I've had nothing but top-notch guys take me fishing here, with one exception. There's a guy up the street owns 7 Seas Seafood. When he runs the boat, It's a nice boat ride.
A nice boat ride.
Not so great on the
I'm going to
part.
say this much. He's like me. Surround yourself with talented people. He does the same thing. And I'm saying bringing you on the boat, Captain Jimmy on the boat, Captain Chris on the boat. And Chris Reagan and I, by the way, texted earlier. I hope he'll stop by and join us for a little bit. We wanted to talk about your influence on him, and he's getting to spend time with you on the water. And, with all your years, and real quick, folks, Captain Bouncer Smith, one of the most world-renowned guides anywhere, out of South Florida, daytime sword fisherman, incredible conservationist, and a steward of the resources, and pretty good at catching fish. And he's got his hand in 17, now last time I read, 17 IGFA line world records, whether it's you, whether it's somebody on the boat with you, correct?
17.
Yeah. Is that all?
Which week was that?
Okay. How many is it? Come on.
Last I heard, it was 67 that my guest caught.
All right.
And I caught a couple myself.
There you go.
So it'd be around 69.
All right, 69. That's a great number.
Yes,
So I like 68 better though. But anyway, so you fished all over the world. We know you're from South Florida, where your business came from.
I was only in South Florida for 68 years.
That's right.
Yes.
So
just stopped by for a couple weeks. But 54 years, full-time professional fishing guide. Everything from a 100-foot head boat to a 17-foot flats boat. Just had a ball, fished in Italy. I went to Italy to teach how to catch swordfish. I ran the Cayman Islands Swordfish Challenge for, I think we were up to 15 years or something like that. I ran a boat down to Cozumel, and then I flew to Cozumel and ran boats, caught a world's record halibut in Alaska. And most importantly, I've met a lot of great people, and I've had the chance, and if you ever get the chance, I've taken a lot of sick kids and their families and veterans and kids that hang around tackle shops and don't have a boat or money. I'm taking those people fishing are the best trips I've ever run.
Absolutely. I would almost be willing to bet that is the truth. And my partner here is not active duty, but he is active duty. He is also in the National Guard here.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. I know. I tell him that all the time.
I concur with what you're saying. So I'm heavily involved in taking people that are, either wounded veterans or kids. But you mentioned somebody that the unknown people that just you can see them out there, right? You can see them on the marsh walk walking by. They've got big eyes. They're looking out there, but they've got no chance of going. Those are really cool people to take.
There's nothing better than going to your local tackle shop, and that's the best place to shop, in my opinion. But you go to your local tackle shop, and day after day after day, you see this 15 to 25-year-old kid. He might have 2 whole rods to his name, and one of them the guides are missing.
Yeah.
But, boy, he hangs on every word of every guide that comes in there and everything else, and he has no money.
Yeah.
And you've got a beautiful boat and nobody to go fishing with you.
Yeah.
So you take that, you call that, you get that kid's information, you talk to his mom. I'd like to take your son fishing. I fish a lot. I've got this guy's boat. I've got good life jackets, good marine equipment. You can talk to the guy at the tackle shop, the marina, check my credentials. But I would love to have your son or daughter help me out on the boat a few trips. And if you need to come along with them, you're welcome to come along. And this kid is going to bait your hooks, take the weeds off, clean the boat at the end of the trip, and you are going to make his life so much better. I mean, there's nothing better you can do.
Well, I did that, right? I was that. I wasn't exactly that kid, but I was that kid. And, to the left of me and to the right of me, there were boats parked at the dock. And, one was a 65 Hatteras and one was a 42 Albemarle. And, I had nothing at the time. And both of those guys took me under their wing and said, come on. And, I started mating. And then before I knew it, I was captain in both boats and running charter and then running charters. And, you just sort of, your whole life changes when somebody decides, come on, you can clean the boat. And that's all you got to do is clean the boat.
Well, you know something? I thought about it once in a while, but it really hit me right now sitting here. I have gone full circle. Now, Phil Conklin owned 7 Seas Seafood, worked with me in the 60s, or 70s mostly. When he was on his last days, his son, Chris, brought him down to Miami to go fishing a few times. And what a pair of eyes. He spotted every swordfish every sailfish before anybody else on the boat. But I became friends with Chris. And now Chris is taking me fishing here. He's taking me fishing in Georgetown. He's taking me fishing in Isla Morada down in the Keys. And it's full circle. Yeah. I was taking kids fishing, and now the kids are taking me fishing.
That's awesome.
And my mate for 13 years, I go to Miami. He takes me out in the Everglades fly fishing for bass. He takes me out snook fishing and tarpon fishing in the bay. He takes me offshore. It's full circle. So invest more in it. It may come back and pay you back one day.
You're exactly right.
You are exactly right, but I got bad news about the current generation we're talking about. I mean, not all of them, certainly not all of them, but I have a friend that has a stepson who's 20 years old, living at home, has nothing to do, and I'm cleaning 10 flounder and 2 sheep's head in the backyard yesterday, and I said, come on, I don't want to call his name, but I said, come on, let me show you how to do this. He never fished a day in his life. Come on, let me show you how to do this. Grabbed his hand, put his hand on the knife, showed him how to outline the fish and where to cut and how to, up against the ribs. And he got halfway through one on his own, and he handed me the knife back. He said, I'm done.
Yep.
Can I mention something else to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids like that today. I have my sister has a grandson. He's 14 years old. He will be a professional gamer, or he'll be a computer whiz or something.
Right.
But they were assembling some stuff the other day, and they told him they couldn't get him to turn a screw or anything, so they told him, well, clean up this cardboard and this styrofoam. He would take a piece of styrofoam as big as your phone, and he'd carry it out to the garage. And he'd come back and he'd sit back down. Come on, there's all this pile of trash over here. And he'd go over and he'd pick up a piece. It was pathetic.
Yep.
But then you turn it around. I'm sitting out here on the deck watching the guys come in from fishing, and they're talking about, these are young captains, less than 30 years old, and they're talking about tomorrow they'll be ready to leave the dock at 5:15 or 5:45. So for every kid that's going to be a computer person in the future, there is a kid who is just as gung-ho as ever.
Good.
You mentioned the great captains that are in this area real quick down at the docks here. And Jason's sitting down with us, Jason Burton, owner of MIFC. And he sends me pictures all the time. Of course, he is probably one of the reasons behind us wanting to revive the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo, just because of listening to how much it meant to him. And that was basically a year-long tournament that we used to have here. But he grew up fishing on the piers here.
Yeah.
So did I.
And those old guys took him under him and Robbie Remsen, and I'm sure you met Captain Robbie.
Oh, yeah.
Took him under their wings. And look where they are now. I mean, the guy's running a business with 6, 7, 8 boats now, incredible captains, but that made a difference. Those guys made a difference with him. Mr. Jack your dad wasn't a fisherman.
No.
You were like me.
That being said, I grew up in a family, that they were workers. They didn't fish, they didn't hunt. If it wasn't, for some of the older gentlemen that I was exposed to young in life, I don't even know that I would have went this route. But, I was lucky enough, some of my friends fished, and they said, hey, let's go fishing. And, we used to make fun of guys who had boats. We grew up fishing on the pier, and our philosophy was, if our feet and a bicycle can't get us there, we don't want to do it. And we used to see the guys go by in boats, and we said, you know what, we'll go to the pier, we'll go surf fishing, we'll walk to the jetties, and we're determined we're going to catch more fish than the guys on the boat. And those old guys, they were like, grandfather figures to us.
Sure.
And they were the first ones that, if we were cutting up, they let us know.
When I was 12 to 14, 15 years old, it was the oldest, I would bicycle 12 miles to a fishing pier. And on Wednesdays, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, here would come Dottie Carroll. And usually by 5, Jack Carroll would show up. And they fished with Seamaster spinning reels, custom-built, handmade spinning reels. Beautiful Harnell spinning rods. And we would all, 6 kids, and Jack and Dottie Carroll would fish the rest of the afternoon. And we might have to settle for pinfish or blue runners or Spanish mackerel, whatever it is. But along about 6 o'clock, we would fillet up whatever we had, and we'd go to the Howard Johnson's at the base of the pier, and we'd have all these fillets, boneless fillets, fried up with French fries, and the Carrolls were like grandparents to us. I mean, and then they came back every Sunday. And they had such an influence on my life, really, really impactful. And so many other people on the piers, at the floodgates, we didn't fish from the surf much, but we did fish from the jetties and stuff. But that's like that guy I was talking about earlier. You might be a fisherman that doesn't even own a boat, but you can still influence that 15-year-old that's desperate to go fishing and has nobody to guide him.
Right.
I had a different situation. I come from a very close-knit family. My father never worked more than 5 days a week, but he worked 5 days every week. And every weekend, one day of the weekend was home and garden maintenance, and one day of the week was outdoor recreation, whether it was cutting firewood, hiking in the woods, walking the beaches on the west coast of Florida. My older sister and my dad built a 16-foot fiberglass boat in Michigan. My dad and I built a 16.5-foot sea skiff, for lack of a better description. I bucked every rivet in that aluminum boat with cotton plugged in my ears, with the boat upside down, and I'm bucking the rivets. He's got a rivet gun on the outside. It's a wonder I have any hearing. And my little brother and my dad built a 27-foot aluminum boat with a single 555 Cummins, 27-foot, and my little brother was a crackerjack welder, and he welded the whole thing. There's only one sibling that didn't build a boat, but she was the girly girl in the family. So
that's understandable. Mm-hmm. Well, talking about this and the family stuff, real quick also, Bouncer will be featured from time to time in our magazine, Walk 'Em All Outdoors. Next month in June's issue, I've asked all the writers to either talk about their influence of their father or father figures in their life in the outdoors.
By the way, don't leave out mothers.
Yeah. Well, okay. We agree with you completely. You're right, and there are a lot of mothers that we know. Jason gets charters all the time. There are a lot of mothers that actually are the man of the family. I'm sorry.
I have to interrupt 1 second. Every time Jason gets beat in a tournament, he says, "That mother beat me."
Yep.
So there's a lot of women that are, a lot of mothers that are better fishermen than Jason.
Oh,
you're right.
A ton of them.
Jason's plagued by the day before and the day after. He's got the plague of the day before and the day after.
Did I tell you about my friend last week? He used to mate for me, and we've been good friends for a long, long time. Worked in a tackle shop, and he was actually one of those guys. Hey, you want to go fishing with me? I'll even pay you. But at any rate, he pre-fished the tournament last Friday. They caught a 73-pound kingfish.
Ooh,
that sounds like my luck.
And of course, the day of the tournament, they came in 19th out of 85 boats.
That's me.
Yeah.
That is Jason. That is Jason.
If they could ever start having tournaments on Friday or Sunday, I think I would be really good at them.
Well, I can tell you how to possibly improve the situation.
I would love to hear this because I've tried everything.
Don't practice.
Yeah,
That's what he tells me. He tells me. I go scout out fish all week long. I have a game plan. I'm very, very confident going into the tournament. The day of the tournament, nothing that I did all week turns out. As soon as the tournament's over, I go back just to see if I would have been right, and they do it the day after.
I don't want to go with any detail, but all of your stories about pre-fishing will not compare with the mackerel tournament I fished here last year.
No, they will not.
No.
Let's hear it.
Do you know it?
I don't know this story.
I think the listeners would love to hear this.
Several very good fishermen took this brand new boat, and they went out and they loaded the live wells with bait. And they came back and they plugged in the battery charger, and they cleaned up the boat, and they went home.
Oh, I know how this is going to go. All right.
And 5 o'clock in the morning, I get here to the marina, and the videotape, security cameras show that the boat sank at 3:30.
Yeah.
There it was, sitting on the bottom when we got here in the morning.
Scales clogged it up.
Yep.
Yes.
Something to that effect.
Something to that effect. Yeah. We came by that morning. We were trying to find some mullet. We came back through here and looked, and he looked like the little kid that he's talking about at the tackle shop. He was sitting on the bench up there just like this. And it was like, I was like, why are Bouncer and them still on the dock? And we had not even noticed that the boat was. And then we looked over, and I saw the brand new boat, like he said, listed sideways with the canopy, the tower and everything touching the water. And I was like, uh-oh.
But giving credit where credit's due.
You went fishing.
You still made it.
Chris Conklin rustled up another boat, and we put together what we could, and we went fishing.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I think you went with Ben Pratt, if I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't you hop on with Ben or something?
No, we borrowed
Barano.
We borrowed Ha-Ha's boat.
Oh, that's right, Ha-Ha's boat. That's right.
Buddy Love went with us. Buddy Smith went with us, and Chris, Buddy, and I went fishing. And it was a little bit of a late start. The trailer had flat tires, and we couldn't figure out how to turn the batteries on, and we had to go catch bait, and we had a nice day on the water.
It's funny because you just mentioned how I first learned about you, other than reading an article about you, and I want to talk about that a little bit. It was one of the first articles I've ever read about you, and it was from the letters of the editor, and it was from Saltwater Sportsman. But we'll go back to that story. But real quick, was through the two people that I heard about you first were Scott Feltman, Captain Scott Feltman, who's down in Islamorada now. He's at Well Harbor, but he was originally up the coast a little bit. He came up here for a short period. He had a 27 Dusky, and he came up, and that's where I got introduced to Dusky boats.
Yep.
I had never heard of them. And he was talking about you, and he kept talking about Bouncer's 33. I think was originally it was something different.
Well, first I had the Challenge 2.
Okay.
And then I went to the boat show because they were going to feature my brand new 27-foot Dusky. And I get there, and the owner of the company, Ralph Brown, says, "How you like the name on your new boat?" He said, "Bouncer's Dusky." I said, "That's really good promotion for the show. We'll change the name afterwards." He says, "I don't think so." Because having that the name of the boat will give me a lot of advertising in the tournaments.
Yep.
Well, for the price I was paying, I guess I could swallow that. And then I had Bouncer's Dusky 33.
Yeah.
That's right.
I only had, I think I had 11 or 12 Duskies.
Wow. Now they built in Florida?
40.
They built right there in Florida?
Yeah, they're built just south of Fort Lauderdale. I think I had 7, what they now call a 278. Used to be a 256. Same hull, they just changed the measurements for the bracket on the back. And then they came out with a 33-footer, and I had 5 of them, I think it was.
Wow. Now that's what you ended your charter career
Yes,
on? And that boat could get it done down there.
Oh, yeah, it was a great boat.
So you have been on quite a few boats. What would you say is your absolute, if you could only pick one, what was your favorite boat that you ever ran?
I probably was on less boats than you think. But to be perfectly 100%
You had to pick
honest,
one.
To be perfectly honest, I would have to go with the Dusky 33. I would be tempted to say an Ocean Master 31. But the Dusky, and that's what I always wished I could have someday until Dusky came out with a 33-footer. But you wouldn't want to have a Ocean Master 31 up here because you'd beat your brains out.
Right.
Got to remember, in Miami, we have to go a whole 18 miles to go sword fishing.
Right.
And now, if you go 25 miles, the Coast Guard will arrest you for invading Bahamian waters.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I heard about that. So you can't even catch a dolphin. I mean, where the big dolphin used to be caught, right?
No, most of our dolphin fishing was less than 20 miles.
Oh, really?
So you're not allowed to fish those waters
Well,
anymore? Or
the law is you can only go halfway to another country.
Yeah.
So out of Miami, it was 23 and a half miles, halfway to Bimini.
Ah.
Now, what's really struck home is Islamorada. because Islamorada sword fishing is mostly done 50 miles from the dock. Well, there's a long stretch of the Marathon Islamorada area that their very best swordfish grounds are now Bahamian grounds. And they actually arrested a guy and then turned him loose with a warning and said, and one of the guys actually told him they're out to get Nick Stanzik. Because Nick Stanzik would be a prime example, set an example.
He would definitely get the.
It would be like busting Bouncer for having a undersized grouper. Or maybe Jason.
Nah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Nick. Of course, we've had Nick on, and Nick was a great interview. We had a good time. I think that's definitely going to be about like yours. We're going to have to do a part 2 and part 3. But he did mention you. We didn't even have to. He mentioned you quite a few times in the show with him. And obviously, we talked a lot of sword fishing. That's what we talked about.
We started this conversation before we went on air with sword fishing, and it was coming out of your mouth. The difference between daytime and nighttime sword fishing is 3 things. I think that's where you ended.
Yep.
And I said stop.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's why I'm happy to have a lawyer with me for a partner, because he remembers things like that. I have ADHD, and I was just thinking about all these other things I want to talk about.
What was your name again?
Inkless. I did remember that.
I can't remember the senator's first name, so don't feel bad.
Just whatever you want to call me, I'm good with it.
Sir.
Yeah, no.
So I suppose you want to know about 3 things.
3 things.
First of all, nighttime swordfish in Miami and probably in most places average about 50 pounds. In fresh, not overfished waters, but daytime swordfish rarely average less than 125 pounds. So the fish are generally bigger. That being said, my biggest one was at night.
Any reason for that before you move on?
Why are they bigger?
Any idea?
A lot of it, the scientists tell us, is because we fish too shallow at night. They say that the smaller swordfish come up higher in the water column at night, and the big ones stay right at the thermocline. They don't come above the thermocline.
Interesting.
So the scientists tell us if we want to catch big swordfish at night, and R.J. Boyle kind of proved it the last nighttime swordfish that I was aware of. He caught 2 fish like 300 and 400 pounds, 700 feet down, while everybody else typically fished from the surface to 300 or 400 feet down.
Right.
But at any rate, so number 1 is size. Number 2 is circadian something or something. At any rate, it means that human beings, or normal human beings, like to sleep at night and be active in the daytime.
Right.
And number 3 is people have become convinced that you have to catch your swordfish in the daytime on electric reels. And that's a travesty. Because in reality, if I was going sword fishing, I should use an electric reel. If I've got a 7-year-old who's suffering from cancer and he wants to go sword fishing, he should use a hooker electric reel. But if you or Jason, he's getting too old for it, English is. If you or Jason are going daytime sword fishing, you can have a hooker with a removable motor, or you can have a real cranky, which is an attachment, goes in an electric drill, or you can come up with some other system, but those are the 2 that I know the best, that you can remove the motors on. And if you want to check your bait because you didn't get a bite, use the electric reel. But if you hook a swordfish, he is going to swim toward the surface. And in the ideal situation, after the first 15 minutes, that swordfish is almost always going to be swimming to the surface. You all know Buddy Smith?
Buddy Smith.
Very
that was
well.
the other person who introduced me to you.
Buddy wanted to catch an IGFA swordfish, and we took him in the daytime with pavers for weights. We're supposed to break off. They didn't break off. He's doubled up, hand cranking the swordfish. It wasn't fighting too bad. He was making good progress. When he got to about 200 feet, all of a sudden it got really hard to wind up. Well, when he got to about 150 feet, he hardly could move it. And the fish was jumping on the side of the boat. The fish is jumping and he's bowed up.
Right.
He's got 16 pounds of paver bricks hanging off the end of his line, and the swordfish is on the belly and the leader jumping off the side of the boat. But the bottom line is that swordfish is going to swim to the top. So if you just take your time and keep most of the slack out, you're going to wind up slack until you come to where the fish is on the surface and the lead's hanging straight down. So you might have 150 feet that you have to pump and wind on whatever lead you got on the line still.
Right.
And then once you take the lead off, it's mano a mano. And
do you think that the modern day electric reel has taken away from how powerful the swordfish really
Easy
are?
now. He also represents Hooker Electric Reels, if I'm not
How
mistaken.
powerful?
Yeah, like you're saying, it's doing a lot of the work for you, so you're not
A
fighting
lot?
all of it.
It's criminal.
Okay.
People charter a guy from Ohio. Read all these stories about catching a swordfish. He goes to a local inlet somewhere on the East Coast or in the Gulf, and he charters a boat to go sword fishing. Now, it's not as bad in the Gulf as it is on the Atlantic coast, but he goes to catch a swordfish. He gets on the boat with his wife. They take off. They run out to the edge. There's a couple of bean bags up in the bow, folks. Why don't you go sit down, relax, get a little sun. We'll turn the stereo on. And the captain and the mate will make a drop, and they'll watch the rod tip, and they'll see a bite, and the mate will tease it a couple of times, and they'll hook it. And the fish will be on, and the Hooker electric reel will be winding away, and it's got a level wind and a variable speed, and you got a Penn International. You can adjust the drag however you want. And the mate will work the reel, and the captain will keep the boat right, and they'll come to the lead, and they'll take the lead off, and they'll turn the reel back on, and they'll get it up close to the boat, and they'll harpoon it, and they'll gaff it, and they'll pull it in the boat. Excuse me, folks, you want to come back and take a picture with the swordfish you caught? I caught a swordfish? I must have been in my dream because I've been sleeping for the last 2 hours.
But okay,
Yep.
so I don't. Yes, I do. I always push back. Okay, so I'm gonna push back. I don't disagree with you necessarily, but isn't that on the person that has chartered the charter? Isn't it incumbent upon that person to participate? I mean, don't you come back there and, yeah, maybe you're not actually reeling, but don't you come back there and participate in the action, shouldn't you? I mean, I could also ask the guide to reel it for me, and that would be just as stupid, wouldn't it?
Right.
I'd say the whole thing is criminal.
Yeah, you have.
Exactly.
I had probably one of the best mates that's ever worked the cockpit.
Okay.
And I would fish with a Hooker electric reel. And I had many men from 15 to 50 hand crank swordfish. But if they were little kids, they would have to use the hooker to bring them up. If they were old men or old women, they'd have to use the hooker to wind them up. But my number one rule, no matter who it was, other than a little kid, our sinker was 100 feet from the fish. And when we took the lead off, we took the motor off. Because whatever happened after we took the lead off was mano a mano.
You're going to let the fish pull you.
You're going to fight the fish. You might leave the rod and rod holder. You had that choice. But nobody was going to bring the fish up for you. And I'm talking about 5, 6 people taking turns on the rod and taking an hour to get from taking the lead off to boating the fish.
Does this have mostly to do with the fact that the swordfish is going to swim to the surface, as you mentioned, or is this just about men need to be men? Because, I mean, let's change gears a second. I mean, what are we talking about? Barrel fish now? Are we talking about snowy group?
I hand cranked my second barrel fish.
I
heard about that one.
But
I
what
electric reeled the first one because
You caught that with Nick Stanzik, didn't
yes,
you?
I did
Yep.
last January.
What about wreck fish, barrel fish, snowies, yellow edge? Are we talking about all these? Should everybody hand crank all body fish?
Well, there's debate there now.
Okay.
Are you going sport fishing or are you going freezer stocking?
Right, yeah.
That's the whole thing.
You just have to make the determination before you go into it.
No, you can make the call at any time. You can say, man, between the 97 degrees and not a breath of air and the humidity's 102, I can't do it.
We're stocking the freezer.
We're going to put the motor back on and bring them up till we take the lead off, and then I'll try again. Let me catch my breath.
Right.
I mean, using the motor part of the time in a lot of ways is no different than having everybody on the boat take turns on the fish.
Sure.
Yep.
But if the IGFA will not commend you for catching a fish on a hook or electric reel.
You won't even get an honorable mention.
Not even an honorable mention. And you'll brag you caught the state record. The state record what?
Nobody will care.
Electric reel fish?
Right.
I mean, I understand the government has, what would you call them, robotized vessels that go out and drop sonar buoys 3,000 feet and wind them back up, and there ain't even a person on the boat. They go and tell the boat to go to these GPS numbers and drop the buoy and take the readings and pull the buoy up and come back to the dock and pull back in your slip with nobody on board. So all they got to do is a guy sitting there watching the forward-facing camera to make sure they don't ram into somebody.
Wow.
But so there's steps. I had my favorite example is I had a guy in his mid-30s from West Africa get on the boat with me and Billy Springer. He hand cranked from the bottom, 1,700 feet, a 400-pound swordfish. We put it in the boat. I says, I guess that's enough for that for today, isn't it? And he says, well, I'd like to try another one.
Wow.
We went back and made another drift in the same spot, and he hand cranked a twin. And the first time Billy could hit it with the standard 5-foot tag stick, we tagged it, took a wrap on the leader, pulled the hook, and sent it on its way.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow, he was asking for torture.
So why wouldn't a Jason or a senator, not English, he's too old. He can't even catch bonitas all day.
You're right.
And have you seen his hair lately? It's just crazy.
Oh my God.
I know.
I want to know why his little sister was so mad at him.
Exactly.
Or was that his granddaughter? His great-granddaughter. Gets it straight. But
what happened up here?
Everything we do is some form of punishment, right? Or testing ourselves.
Everything is.
Everything is a way of testing yourself in some way.
a very minor example. Right before I left South Florida a couple weeks ago, I chartered Alan Zaremba to go fly fishing in the Everglades. It's freshwater Everglades.
Yeah.
And it was a 4 or 5 hour trip, whatever it was supposed to be. But I was using a 6-weight fly rod, and I had the time of my life. Jaguar capotes, which now they call tiger bass, peacock bass, largemouth bass, bluegills, brim, cichlids, endless numbers of different kinds of fish, up to about 3.5 pounds. And when my body started to hurt so bad I couldn't figure out why I was still fishing, I told Alan, there was only two of us, I says, Alan, you got to help me fight off these fish. Grab a rod. So he grabbed a spinning rod, and you couldn't catch a fish on the spinning rod. So I says, well, grab my other fly rod. And we had more laughs. I'd pick on his cast, he'd pick on my cast. He was fishing in my water, I was fishing in his water. But after 4 hours, I had to take a whole bottle of Tylenol. My shoulders hurt so bad. Over the years, I've totally wrecked my shoulders. But my shoulders hurt just as bad as you would if you wound up a 500-pound swordfish from 1,800 feet of water without a motor.
Right.
Because I'm much older and much more abused than you are. So why was I fly fishing? I could have got a 6-0, filled it up with 80-pound line, tied on a swimming plug, and gone down the canal and just or I could have used a cane pole and just jerked him in the boat.
Yep.
But the sport of fly casting and getting them to eat a popper and getting them to eat a submerged fly, the ones on the popper were just breathtaking, fantastic. Oh, you love that?
Oh, that's good.
There we go.
There.
There's
That's
nothing.
class
That
there,
was
man.
awesome. Hang on. I got one for that. Hang on.
Oh,
There you go. He's got one on the line.
Got him on.
Hold on a minute.
He's got one on the line.
What's the matter with my phone? It won't answer. Sorry, Bo, my phone won't work.
All right, but before we leave electric fishing, I love electric fishing, but
Oh, don't get me wrong.
is it as sporting as hand cranking one? No.
No.
Okay. No. The answer is no. But
Does it taste any different?
no.
The hand cranked one, I mean the electric one, might taste a whole lot better. Because if I catch a bluefin tuna
Yeah.
on an electric reel, it doesn't build up anywhere near as much lactic acid.
Right.
So it might taste better. And I got news for you. You can take one look at me and you can tell I've eaten a lot of something. Well, I like seafood.
As have I. But I mean, I've caught plenty of fish. Everybody here has caught plenty of fish in their time.
Not Josh.
No, except for English.
Josh just gives instructions. He used to go to the pier and catch them, but now he tells some other captain, take these people out and show them a good time. And then he goes and fights with the state about this regulation, that regulation, and he goes to the accountant and fights with him about how he's not going to give the government all his money, and then he's going to call the local senator and cry to him. So he's too busy to go fishing.
All right. So we've all caught plenty of fish in our time. If I'm sword fishing, I get just as much of a rush of seeing a swordfish come in the boat if I hand cranked it than if I electric reeled it. But my son, who's 6, obviously he can't hand crank a 400-pound swordfish from 1,800 feet. But when he can, he isn't going to hit the button. He's going to hand crank it because he needs the experience, right? He's got to go through the process. He's got to feel the pain. He's got to earn it, just like all of us have done at some point in time, right? But at some point, you say in your career, at least I have, I get just as much joy watching that person reel it in as I would have reeled it in myself, or hitting the button and seeing it come in the boat.
Let me explain to you how I feel about that.
Okay?
I was a full-time charter boat man for 54 years. Before that, I worked on a fishing pier, and I was an avid fisherman from the time I was 5. That's
A lot of years.
69 years or something like that.
A long time.
And when a sailfish would come up on the kite, my mate, my deckhand, my partner in crime, would walk over to a customer and say, "Excuse me, sir, come over and pick up this rod. Now walk to the back of the boat. Now wait a minute. You should be starting to feel some pressure. Okay, wind on it. Okay, wind a little faster. Okay, you don't have to wind anymore. You see the lines running out. Oh, look out there. There's your sailfish jumping."
Right.
That was my deckhand. He's been doing this for 13 years total, from the first one he ever saw to modern day. Conversely, same day, same boat, same sailfish. There he is! Sailfish on a long kite. Oh, grab the rod, get back by the motors. Oh, wind now, wind faster, wind now. Okay, hold it right there. Don't lift the rod.
Right.
That sounds like
I don't care if it's a man-o-war bird, a sea turtle, a whale, a porpoise, a swordfish, a sailfish, a nice-sized mahi, a rod tip twitched. I am in hog heaven.
Bingo. Yeah.
So I can feel what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yes, we can have a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of thrills, and turn the knob on a hook or electric reel. And I don't have any problem with that.
You still need to earn it, though.
Somewhere along the line,
You need to earn it.
you need to catch a swordfish.
I agree with that. Totally.
You think we got great sword fishing off of here?
Probably a lot better than we do in South Florida.
Really?
Very untapped here because we have to go so far. Unlike
And
how far are you going in Florida? What, 25 miles?
the very, very, very farthest we ever run was at a 45-degree angle to the coast, and we would run 18 to 20 miles.
Huh?
Running 30 degrees off the coast, going home, we might sometimes have to run 25 miles because we drifted so far north.
Right.
Not offshore.
Ooh, South Carolina, if you ran 18 miles, you're liable to still be able to stand up and have your head above water. We've got some shallow water here for
Yeah,
sure.
there's no doubt. But I'll tell you this, but bear in mind, because this is something that's educational, nothing else. God, it's probably been close to 20 years ago now. They tagged 3 swordfish off of George's Bank, which is up off of Canada. One tag disappeared. Both the other tags were in the Caribbean Sea, including one that literally circled the Cayman Islands for a week. 1 year after they were tagged off the George's Bank in September, 1 year later in September, 365 days to the day, a tag popped up 50 miles from where it was tagged. 3 days later, the other tag popped up 300 miles from where it was tagged, due east of where it was tagged. Last summer in May, we put out 2 satellite tags. One tag went into the Caribbean Sea, around the Cayman Islands in particular, and back up the coast, and I think it popped off like off the Carolina, off of someplace right out here. The one that we tagged went 2,600 miles up the coast, following basically Gulf Stream, and it was captured by a longline boat from Spain. And
Wow.
on that one, what's really, really super is if they get the physical tag back, they get 10 times the information. And the Spanish longline boat sent them back to tag.
That's awesome.
But that fish went 2,600 miles from Pompano Beach, Florida, to the Flemish Cap.
That's amazing.
And then it was harvested.
What? Go
What an
ahead.
amazing
You were-
fish.
What? Go ahead, Stephen. I think you were going to say something.
I was going to say you've been heavily involved in the tagging of dolphin, which is what you were getting into, and there was a program that we had here that I remember South Carolina Department of Natural Resources participated in, partnered with
Don Hammond.
participated in, partnered with that organization that you were involved with for a long time,
Yep.
and then for some reason that fell apart.
Oh, no, it just got turned over to another group.
Okay, got turned over
It's
to
more
them.
active now than ever.
Okay.
Now they're satellite tagging Wahoo, and they're doing a lot of work in the Pacific as well as in the Atlantic.
But that program, I mean, it got me paying attention to dolphin in a way that I'd never had paid attention to them in the past. And I think a lot of people, when you started being able to see the maps and the migration, and then everybody started understanding the life cycle of the dolphin, which is pretty amazing. I mean, some of these fish will put on 50 pounds in a year.
Can I give you some scientific facts?
Please.
We tagged a 2-pound dolphin, and exactly 2 pounds, exactly 200 days later, we tagged it off of Miami. It was caught in Exuma Sound, which is the eastern Bahamas. And when it was recaptured, it weighed 20 pounds.
That's incredible.
18 pounds
Wow.
in 200 days. We tagged a 4-pound dolphin, and 18 months later, off of Miami, Florida, 18 months later, it weighed 58 pounds, and it was recaptured on the south side of Puerto Rico.
That's excellent. That's
So
excellent.
dolphin fish are very capable of growing very, very fast and not living very, very long. And
We only caught 3 dolphin yesterday, all cows, every one full of eggs.
well, you know what?
Every single one full of eggs.
You will probably never catch a cow dolphin that doesn't have eggs. A dolphin at 5 pounds starts spawning every 8 days. I'll repeat that.
Wow.
8 days?
A female dolphin lays eggs every 8 days.
So they truly are the fastest reproducing fish.
They're the rabbit of the ocean.
They are the rabbit of the ocean.
I had a scientist tell me that more dolphins starve to death than any other cause for the demise of a dolphin.
You got to be able to take that and do something with it. I mean, there are other fish, obviously, that grow very slowly. There are other fish that are having problems. I mean, certain people will tell you that the flounder population are having problems. That could be from overcatch and overharvest. But what about the fish that are having problems? How can we apply what the dolphin are doing so well to the fish that aren't doing so well? And I mean, it's a rhetorical question. It's not necessarily a question you can answer scientifically. Maybe you can.
Well, take it in the spirit that it's meant. You're the poor guy in the room. But you as a politician, as a
Public servant.
I was going to say that. Those next words on my mouth. Need to encourage Chris Conklin's replacement to do a better job of keeping track of fish populations and give you better stock assessments so that they can write better fishery laws.
Hey, absolutely.
And even more important, as a coastal representative, you have got to fight tooth and nail for the preservation of habitat. Because what will wipe out the flounder, the redfish, and the sea trout, and the black drum, et cetera, is the destruction of habitat. You have to be a steward for what happened from Indian River to Tampa.
Yeah.
From Indian River all the way around the south end of Florida to Tampa has no viable estuary left. All the grass in Indian River died from too much nutrients and chemical vegetation destruction.
And that's what
Roundup.
the fight for Captains for Clean Waters is fighting
Roundup.
for right now.
Roundup.
Yeah, too much fertilizer.
No. Every canal in South Florida,
And
they
glyphosate.
spray repeatedly to kill the freshwater vegetation to get a better flow of water when they want to lower the water levels for tropical storms.
Oh, so it's
and
all
in doing
Roundup.
that Roundup runs into the salt water and kills the saltwater grass. So, yes, the nutrients kill a lot, but the Roundup, they have no nutrient runoff to speak of in Dade County.
So this is
But
separate
Dade County
and apart.
has no grass.
Separate and apart from the red tide problems with the fertilizer issues and the phosphate issues. This is a glyphosate weed killer issue.
It's a combination of nutrients and weed killer.
Okay.
And then Florida Bay was predominantly a problem with nutrients. This is crazy, but they got too many nutrients from the Everglades, but they didn't get enough fresh water.
Yeah.
So we killed the Indian River was predominantly the number one cause for nutrients, spiced by Roundup. Biscayne Bay was wiped out with Roundup. Florida Bay was wiped out by poor water management, not letting enough water go south, which they're doing a lot about now. And the West Coast was done with nutrients more than anything else.
Inglis, that's a great way to sort of wrap things up. Because
I just want to bring up one thing, too.
I've got to bring up one thing before we go.
No, we're going to talk about the book.
Can't round up without this.
Oh, no, we're definitely going to talk about the book.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I won't give it to you.
But habitat. Habitat has been, whether we're talking quails, ducks, turkey.
it's been a common theme for us.
It is. Every conversation has been about protecting habitat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it was CCA, NWTF, Ducks Unlimited. Every conversation is about habitat.
And then you can take it worse. In Dade and Broward and Monroe County, the reefs are so bleached and so buried in Dade and Broward County, so much water is still, gray water, is still being pumped right on top of the outer reef.
Yeah.
To go into the Gulf Stream and ride right up here. And then my buddy, who's on a program that I'm on with reefs in Florida, lives on Key Biscayne. And he drives down the street the other day and he can't breathe. The Clorox smell is so strong. And there's a city truck washing the sidewalks and the streets with pure bleach. And we've all know what bleach does when you dive down a coral head and squirt a bottle of bleach underneath the coral head. Everything underneath there comes out and dies.
Right.
Wow.
It's a terrible method of commercial fishing where they haven't figured out how to use a fish trap yet, which is another terrible thing for the ecology. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that fish trap is how they get the assessment of the stocks, too.
well, the lesser of two evils, shocking a freshwater canal.
No, there's
That's
got.
how many bass there are, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
Hey, plug your book.
Yeah, let's talk about which one. There's
This is
4.
book number 4,
Book
Number 4 is out.
which,
Yep.
by the way, is titled I'm Not Done Yet, which means there might to be 5, because book number 1 was, hey, let's do a book about my career in charter fishing. Oh, we forgot that story, this story, this story. Oh, you mean I forgot about you? So we did book number 2. Book number 3 was what the first book was supposed to be, which was my sister wanted me for years to do a book on how to catch them and what it's like to catch them and how to eat them. So the third book was along those lines. This book here is basically about my retirement. You might even find some mention of the Low Country.
Yes, I
might-
figured.
You might find Merle's Inlet mentioned in here.
That's
And
awesome.
I love it.
now we're still fishing. That means I can still dictate books to Patrick Mansell, and he can clean them up for me.
So Amazon is one of the places, but there's multiple. Where else can we find them?
Well, to be honest with you, up here it's Amazon,
Okay.
Amazon or unless you happen to be English's wife, and then I can put her a pretty good deal if she comes to me in person,
That's right.
or gives him the money, one or the other.
We'll
Maybe add to his allowance because she wants to buy him for Father's Day.
we'll get that taken care of because that
But
was
anyway,
supposed to be my Father's Day. But I see part of my
Amazon-
Father's Day gift there.
Amazon books.
Right.
Just Google Bouncer Smith, and you'll find all 4 books. And you can. And by the way, this book now, the first 3 have no pictures, but now we have black and white pictures in here. And if you get the ebook, it has colored pictures.
Oh,
Whoa.
there.
That'd be cool.
There
Very
you go.
fancy.
Get
And
it.
if you go to BouncerSmithChronicles.com, there's a photo album in there on the internet.
Now, real quick, I know we got to get out of here. We got to close it down. But this is part 1. By the way, we're going to have to do this again. It's good that you're coming up here every couple months,
Well,
correct?
you're going to have to give me more than 1 Diet Coke next time.
All right, I'll make sure that happens. I'll make sure. That,
And it was requested by everybody on the other side of the building that you put some rum in it
oh,
so that I can
There we
speak
go.
more
Look.
clearly.
We have somebody moving in that direction right now.
look,
His nickname
Right
is the
there.
Rum Runner.
The rum runner is
Rum
on his
runner.
way.
The rum runner. All right. Well, listen. I know you're going fishing the next couple days. Best of luck. Enjoy our waters here. Teach Chris something.
I'm going to see you offshore on Wednesday, right? You're going Wednesday?
That's the rumor.
All right, I'll see you
I
there.
spent all day today cutting and rigging wedgehead split tail mullet.
Oh, really?
I was up at
You better not be giving Chris's secrets away.
I was up at 7 Seas. No, DJ that works there wants him to sell wedgehead split tail mullet because DJ wants to cut them because they sell for $8 a piece.
Right.
And a mullet's only worth $1.
Yep.
So somebody's got to get part of that other $6 or $7.
I need you to cut me some by Wednesday, okay? I'm going to need them.
Well, I'm
That's
going
awesome.
fishing tomorrow. I'm going to drink some rum now.
Okay.
I hope it's Papa's Pilar, by the way, because they're great people.
Oh, now he's getting picky.
Well, I mean, you know,
That is some good rum.
not only that, but they put a lot of money back into the. I could give you plugs all afternoon. You probably don't see much of it here, but Papa's Pilar and Starbright cleaning products
Right.
are throwing so much money back into the environment. Starbright, which has all kinds of boat cleaning supplies, I know they're all over the country. They even sell RV supplies, and they probably have some motorcycle products. But at any rate, they are planting clams, mangroves. They're giving out prizes every week for the person that sends the best picture of trash they picked up off the beach or on their boat and stuff. Really bending over backwards for the environment.
Well, it's good
So
to
when
have.
any company like that,
Yeah.
it's
That's
really
great.
important to support them. It's like I don't want to offend anybody along here, but if you went to Perry's or Bache or whatever and bought your tackle, they can tell you where the fish are biting, what they're biting, give you a lot more than a hook, a rod, or a reel.
That's right.
Support the little guy in town.
Absolutely.
Go to the local. I was at Publix today. They had beautiful seafood, but I'll guarantee it wasn't as fresh as Seven Seas.
Oh, no.
Guaranteed.
Nope.
Is there another fish market in the state?
There are some. There are a couple, but not as good as Seven Seas.
That is someplace.
Y'all are going to be stocking it up. I know Chris will keep you busy on that yellowfin out there.
Is that a promise or a threat?
I'm sure it's a promise as long as Captain Jimmy or Captain Chris are on the boat. Or, wait a minute. Who else have y'all been taking? Y'all been taking Randall?
Can I throw some people under the bus?
Throw them.
The last time I went offshore with Chris, we slayed them. We had a bunch of blackfin tunas. We had wahoo, barracudas, amberjacks, which there was an amberjack division. They didn't let me wind in a fish all day. Or they didn't make me wind in a fish all day, I guess.
I was getting ready to say.
But I rigged 7 mullet, and 6 of them caught fish.
There you go.
Proof's in the pudding.
Including our wahoo and our amberjacks, which there was an amberjack division.
Well, the last time you and I sat.
And I went with, I won't mention the names, but his initials are Jim Deaver.
Yep.
I went with him, and we saw a bunch of albacore busting on the surface. So I said, let's pull out the fly rod. An hour later, I was still waiting to touch my fly rod again. Somebody confiscated it. And after he beat them all to death and scared them all away, then he said, would you like to try it? And by then you couldn't get within 200 yards of them, and I can only throw 190 yards with a fly rod.
That is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen.
It's ringing again.
He's got another bite. Hang on.
Another fisherman.
The one and only Captain Bouncer Smith. And Bouncer, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck the next couple days. And we definitely going to have to get you back for round 2, part 2, part 3, part 4. We'll be like your books. We'll just keep going and going and going. But best of luck to y'all. Jason, thanks for having us over here. It's always a pleasure hanging out at Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters. And, folks, listen, if you have not yet, make sure you go download all of these. You're going to enjoy them. You know, it's terrible to have Jason sitting right here because now he's got to listen to this whole one, so he won't download it now. But Jason's
listening.
like one of our best fans.
I am.
Well, wait a minute. You said download them. Where do I download them at?
Every Spotify, Apple Podcast,
Well, what are they called?
Amazon.
Trilogy
Outdoors. I was getting ready to get there. Trilogy Outdoors.
Trilogy Outdoors.
Fins, Fur, and Feathers, and that was my next. That's how I close it. You know, folks, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors Podcast as long as it's got anything to do with fins, fur, and feathers.
Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.